Okay, everyone, Superman has finally hit the theaters, and we are going to talk about it. This will just be the spoiler-free version, and then I'm going to do another video where I kind of dive deeper into more of my thoughts on the movie, and we will talk about, in depth, the things I liked, the things I disliked, that sort of thing. The first thing I'll say is that this Superman has a different tone from Man of Steel. I know a lot of people, including me, will be comparing this movie to Henry Cavill. They're two different things, two different tones, two different approaches to Superman. Snyderverse is more darker tone, more serious, more, hey, let's make it as realistic. I don't know if that's the right word, but trying so hard for it to not be corny or cheesy or goofy at all. And this new James Gunn Superman isn't afraid to do that. So it's two different things, two different approaches to Superman. I personally like this approach better, this new one. It's more focused on saving people all the time, and animals for that matter. Saving everyone, everywhere, as many times as he can. It's not afraid to be goofy, quote unquote. They gave him the trunks, which in and of itself is a kind of goofy thing, but that's okay. Like, it's a superhero movie at the end of the day. It doesn't need to be so serious all the time. Yeah, the tone I liked a lot more in this one. Brighter, more hopeful, more naive, maybe. The character of Superman itself, more naive, more willing to accept everyone, willing to save everyone. Rose-colored glasses, I would say. That sort of approach on the world. Optimistic. All those sorts of words. That's this Superman. I'll be up front. I was never a huge Superman fan growing up. What I'm trying to say is that I don't know a ton about Superman in the comics. I don't know a ton about Superman outside of Henry Cavill's Superman. So my thoughts coming into this are good. I like this Superman. It seems like that's what the character is supposed to be. So that's one thing. The tone is different. The tone is more hopeful, optimistic, and I like it. And I think a lot of new fans coming in, because this is their, like, a lot of kids growing up, this is their first version of Superman. This is their intro to Superman. And I think a lot of people forget that. They're too busy about focusing on, like, 90s Superman and Henry Cavill's Superman. I'm trying to look at it as, like, hey, this is a brand new thing, kind of supposed to be a clean sheet for not only Superman, but all of DC. At the end of the day, this is the intro to the character of Superman for a lot of younger people. And as an introduction to Superman, it's not an origin story, but everyone already knows Superman's origin. And if you don't, it's pretty easy to pick up. Oh, it's an alien from another planet. He got sent down to Earth. Now he's our superhero. So I'm glad they took that approach of like, hey, he's already established a little bit. We don't need to go through the origin story. That was the same as this last Batman movie, The Batman. They're like, everyone knows the origin story. Let's just jump right into it. And I liked that. It started with action right away. You were in the middle of the story, and I thought it was great. Another thing I thought was great was the casting all around. Actually, not all around. The only complaint, which it really isn't even a casting issue. It's a writing issue for how they did Superman's earthly parents, Kansas parents. I didn't like that, but I'll have more thoughts on that in my next video when we start to dive into spoilers. But for this video, the The casting for majority of the characters in this movie was awesome. Was fantastic, actually. Obviously, David Corenswet as Superman. He looked like Superman. He was amazing. He did great. His voice, he was able to... when he turned on the Superman voice, that was cool. Dude had crazy blue eyes. Like, anytime he looked in the camera, it's like, oh my god, look at those eyes, man. I swear, I'm straight. But he had the blue eyes. He had the look of Superman. He had the little curl most of the time, which is a staple of Superman. I think people forget that after Henry Cavill's slicked back Superman hair. But he had the Superman curl. And then Lois Lane, which she got paid double of what Superman got paid, which is crazy, I think. But she did good. All the other reporters, that group of reporters, they all did good. The other supporting superheroes did great. And my favorite of the movie, just the character in general, and obviously the actor who played him, which I forget his name. I don't know his name, actually. I'll look it up for this next video. But Lex Luthor, man. That character in this movie was done to perfection, in my opinion. He did a phenomenal job. And he looked good with a bald head. I'm thinking back to, not Spider-Man, Superman vs. Batman movie. And that Lex Luthor, how he had hair, like majority of the movie. But then when he did shave, if I'm remembering this correctly, yeah, I think it was bald towards the end of the movie. It looked stupid on him. It really did. But this Lex Luthor, the look, dude, the aura that this man had. I'm sorry for using that brain rot word, but it's true. This man had so much aura. Anytime he walked, he was like non-flinching on anything going around him. At one point, like razor blades are zooming past his head and he's just walking. He was amazing. Lex Luthor. Great villain, and I'll talk more on that in my next video too, but I just thought he stood out, maybe even more so than David Corenswet. Yeah, I think he was the star of the movie. They wrote that character perfectly. They casted that character perfectly. The story behind his motivations and what's driving him are like tangible villain traits. I'll talk more on this later. But like a lot of times now we get these villains where they try and get us as the audience to relate to them, or like, oh, they're not even really a villain, it's just they're a villain because they went through bad circumstances, or they grew up this way, or something happened to them where now they just want to be a villain just because. It's like, no, Lex Luthor, it was an ego thing for him. I don't think that's a spoiler. An ego thing, which was driving him this whole movie, which is great. He did awesome. All the characters were awesome. The story was like, I thought it was great. There wasn't any times where I was like, oh my god, this is taking too long. It's only a 2-hour movie, 2 hour and 10 minutes, so not terribly long, and it felt great. Like I said before, they kind of throw you into the action, and then whew, off you go, following this story. But there's a lot more that I want to talk about, and get into specifics, get into spoilers, because there are some things that I disliked, but most of it I really liked, especially the casting, especially the tone of hopeful, light, optimistic, and then, yeah, the good guy, wins, you know? Like, the good guy, it goes well for him, at least in this movie. And yeah, James Gunn, we'll talk about James Gunn. It definitely had that James Gunn style about it, where, like, James Gunn likes to add these, like, music scenes where popular pop song is going on in the background of a fight scene. We get some of that. And I wasn't sure how I would feel about James Gunn's style in a Superman movie. And I'll have to think on it more, but initially I think it works, and I think it's something that we need because it's different. Sure, it's goofier or whatever adjective you want to use, but it doesn't take itself too seriously, you know? It's not Batman. It's Superman, which I'm willing to see how this goes as DC grows. Bars. That rhymed. Yeah, I'm willing to see where it goes. It's more fun, I guess, could be another word. More fun. They have more fun with it instead of trying to shoehorn this non-realistic stuff as a realistic movie. I don't know. Does that make sense? I don't know. They have more fun with it, and maybe that's something we need, because the Snyder stuff, sure, some of it was good, but it wasn't working for them, because all the previous DC stuff, these past like 5-10 years maybe, out of all of it, the Batman is kind of the only one that was a huge hit. This, we'll see what happens with it. We'll see where it goes, what the perception is for everyone else. But me personally, I liked it, and I'm willing to see where James Gunn takes it. So, that being said, James Gunn, yeah, sometimes I can find him annoying. I feel like he has a little bit of an ego as well. But for this movie, I think he did a good job overall. And once again, I'm not a diehard comic Superman fan, but just going into it as someone who knows enough about Superman but doesn't know everything, I enjoyed it. And I think a lot of younger people will enjoy it, and this will help Superman as a character to become popular again amongst kids. When you ask them, what's your favorite superhero? Maybe nowadays they'll say Superman. So with that, I personally would rank this an 8 out of 10. I thought it was great. And I'm going to have another video where I dive in and talk about a lot of other parts of this movie. Spoiler stuff I didn't like, because there are some things that I didn't like, but there's also some specific things that I really, really enjoyed. Most of it being Lex Luthor. He was awesome. I cannot emphasize that enough. They did. It's been a long time since we've seen a really awesome villain who wasn't some magical, omnipotent being. Like, he's human. He's a guy with a brain and with money. And they did him really well. So, I would recommend watching it, especially since this is kind of the start of the new DC. And overall, I thought it was good. If you're a diehard comic fan, I don't know, maybe you won't like it. I do want to hear your guys' thoughts though, because like I said, I'm no expert on Superman, but with fresh eyes on the character, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I thought it works. I was skeptical about James Gunn's style in a Superman movie, but I think it did well. We'll see what what everyone else has to say about it and kind of how much money they rake in. But overall, I enjoyed it, and I would recommend anyone to at least go see it and check it out. And then, yeah, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts as well. Okay, that's all I have to say. Have a good weekend. Bye.